Welcome to this one-off podcast where I'm going to be chatting to Colin, particularly as we reflect back over this last year where we've been dealing with COVID and the impact on us personally, but also on leaders and ministers, and an initiative that Colin has come up with called the Emmaus Encounter.
Inspire, connect,
resource, growing healthy churches,
is in relationship for God's mission.
Colin, welcome to this. It's good to
Thank you.
have you. Thank you for putting some time aside for us. But as you reflect back over this year, Colin, what can you pick out one or two of the things that you personally have noticed in your own life that have been impacted, challenged?
I think that I found this last lockdown the most difficult of the whole year. And one of the things that I found is that I've not found it easy to find a way to talk through and to debrief on what's been going on, partly because everyone else is going through it and many people are going through much worse than me. So you almost feel, who am I to, get a life? Why can't you just sort of get over it, Colin? And why do you need to find someone? So I think that in the first couple of lockdowns, there were ways through, but I found it much more challenging this last time, coinciding with winter, all the things that we've all been rehearsing with each other.
As you reflect on yourself, obviously we are thinking about ministers and those in leadership and so forth. So I understand you just felt God speaking to you at one particular moment to create an opportunity for people to have a moment of reflection together in some kind of form.
Yeah, it was in the middle of the night, as some of the particular ideas that are useful often are. And it was that sense of the journey that the disciples leaving Jerusalem for Emmaus were on, that Easter story, and just the sense of what a massive change it was to be hopeless and miserable at the start, to get to Emmaus, that 7-mile dusty walk, and then within an hour or two they seem to be back on the road again, going to the very place where all the pain and struggle and sadness over what had happened to Jesus, all the difficulty, all the threat that's still there, suddenly they're on their way back there. And what I was thinking about was what happened on that road to those disciples that actually so changed their hearts and their minds and their direction.
I assume you've been reading that passage, had you, or been doing some work on it, or it just came to mind?
It just came to mind. I mean, back in my days as a counselling trainer, I'd spoken on it before at that point, and done this sort of thing that one does as a counsellor, which is that great open question that Jesus says to them: "What things?" That is like the open question of all time, isn't it? Really, and then they spill out everything that's been going on for them. But it's a passage that I've gone back to again and again, but I don't think I'd gone to the particular emphasis of what is it that changed. You can concentrate on the question and get stuck there, but actually something really changed for them, and on this occasion within a few hours.
Whenever I've read that passage and I see that just that simple question, what things, it always makes me smile, because you got to turn to Jesus and say, what are you talking about? you know more than anyone what things have been going on. Yeah. But there's a real reason, isn't there, from the Jesus who draws out the answer, and there's a reason for that. And that's important in life, isn't it, that we are asked, someone asks us that question and creates that space for us to talk into it.
I think actually it's vital, because especially when there's such a shared experience, because everyone's been affected by the pandemic in some way. And when it's a shared experience, you think, well, everybody knows. But what Jesus is inviting of them is that they need to name it, what it's been like for them. They have to hear themselves saying it. And he gives them hospitable space to be, to use that language in order for them to speak out what it's been like. Now, I don't know how long he let them burble on for. We don't know that. But my guess is he didn't say, oh, yeah, OK, that'll do. And now I need to tell you what was going on, really. My guess is he as the God who hears our cry, he actually heard their cry and their pain and their sadness and their disillusionment. So it's you have to be able to name it yourself to someone else, even if they already know about it and it's a shared experience.
So you've put together these Emmaus Encounter days. I assume you're not walking to Emmaus on those days. They're going to be kind of
sadly not.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be
would.
nice? It's going to be a virtual experience.
Yeah.
But what is the journey of these moments?
Well, the journey is, and thank you for saying days. The good news for anyone that's interested is it's actually a maximum of 90 minutes together on Zoom. So that already sounds much better news, doesn't it? So, but it's really a chance, having come in a way in a small group together before God. It's really having the space to go on a number of stages of the journey. The first one is exactly this: what things, and actually there'll be some guidance and a little bit of light structure to help people individually before God, but knowing that actually there's others on the same journey at that same time, to name before God the stuff that's been, some stuff will have been great and people have really enjoyed, but lots of stuff will have taken masses of energy, plunged us perhaps into deep, difficult emotions, perhaps quite dark places for some of us. So the what things, but then the next bit is a bit of support in being able to encounter and be aware of who is the God who comes alongside and is at work at and work through those things that have been going on, which of course is what Jesus helps them to discover, that God was actually at work in the midst of the darkness and difficulty, not despite it or around it. The third bit is something about the presence that we sense from God, because it's not all about our heads, it's also about our hearts, and they come to a stage of what transforms them is actually a heart experience. And of course they look back when they recognise Jesus in the breaking of the bread. They look back afterwards and say, did not our hearts burn within us? One of those famous lovely phrases that we pick up, burning hearts. But of course at the time they didn't really know that it was Jesus with them. They didn't know that God was listening to their cry and their difficulty, but they went through a process that Jesus kindly took them on as he joined them on the road. And through that process, they bumped into God, not just in their head, but in their heart. And then the final bit, of course, is the revolution. It's literally a revolution. They do a 180 degrees, let's be right, at Emmaus, and they head back to the place of difficulty and threat.
These are small groups, are they? Is that the format?
Yeah, the small groups, maximum of 8 people on the Zoom call. 2 of us facilitating. Really glad to be working with Rachel, who has done a lot of work supporting people in their work in her professional role, and then as part of it there will be the chance to be in a smaller group to notice some things later on in the time together about what has been significant really and where God might have been. At no point is it a discussion group, so it's worth saying that. At no point does anyone have to say anything they don't want to, and mostly there's a light structure where frankly you hide behind your screen because you turn your video off, you turn yourself on mute, and you simply listen and look at the screen as you're given some prompts to go on this journey with plenty of space to do and pray and note and whatever you want to do behind the screen.
So Colin, some may say, do I really need to join an Emmaus encounter to encounter Jesus in that kind of way? Can't I just go and do something on my own, perhaps go for a 90-minute walk or something instead?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is you absolutely could if you wanted to do that. I personally have found that being held in with a light structure to keep engaged with God in that way, and of course we do this with worship services all the time, is really, really vital and important. And it sort of facilitates the journey because you know that actually there's going to be another prompt and you're given the precious gift of some space to think about what things, for example, or what God. or what call. So I think that there's something mysterious and brilliant about other people holding you for a journey. And of course, that's exactly what happens. The road holds them as they go to Emmaus and back, but Jesus holds them on that journey. And actually, his sheer being there with them in that way helps them to, as it were, go through this whole process that turns them right round.
And so there's 4 opportunities at the moment, 4 dates in the diary. Do you know them off the top of your head?
I can see them off the top of my screen. So they are Tuesday the 13th of April, then the Thursday the 15th, Monday the 19th of April, and Wednesday the 21st of April. They're all on the Southern Counties website, and we've deliberately chosen different times of day so that for those where your pattern of day or with family or whatever other responsibilities you have, you can make a choice, not just of date, but also a choice of time.
And if someone couldn't make any of those, or they were all full, would you consider another day that for those that couldn't make it?
Oh, definitely, yes. If you let that be known to Amy, who's taking any of the bookings, then she wouldn't make a note of that, and we would see if we had enough people for another Emmaus encounter. Great.
Well, our prayer is that, for anyone who goes on this journey, either alone or with the group, that God does encounter them and gives them that space and helps to use that space to restore them back into that place of calling and ministry and mission that he directs them to.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back is a hard thing to do, as we're discovering. So anything that helps us be ready to go back, but to go back inevitably will be different as we go back, is really, really important.
Bless you, Colin. Thanks for sharing with us, and thank you to Rachel as well, who's helping to facilitate these days with you.
Inspire, connect,
Resource. Growing healthy churches.
is in relationship for God's mission.